Now for styling these items here, we can create a new component, maybe in the game folder, in the components folder. And that could be the guessLogItem.js file, which holds the guessLogItem component. So we export this as a default guessLogItem. And then in here, it's up to you how you want to style this. But I want to make sure that for every log item, I show the number of the round, and I also show the actual value that was guessed in that guessing round. Hence, I want to add a view here, which must be imported from React Native, as you learned. So we import this from React Native. And I will also import text here, because inside that view, I want to have a text where I say hashtag and then round number, let's say. And round number should be a prop which we receive. And then another text where I output the opponent's guess, which I also expect to guess as a prop, and therefore that's the guess prop, like this. So now these are the two pieces of information which I want to output in this guessLogItem, and I want to render one instance of this component for every round that's being played. So for every item that's being output in the flat list. Now, of course, we want to style this. So I'll import the style sheet from React Native and then create my styles here with style sheet create, like this. And then here we can give this a name of list item and apply any styles of your choice. In my case, I want to style the border by adding a border color here. And for that, I'll choose my colors constant, which is imported from that constants folder. And I want to use a dark primary shade. The border should also receive a width of, let's say, 1 pixel and a border radius of, let's say, 40 pixels to have some nice rounded corners. I also want to have some padding of, let's say, 12 pixels so that we have some spacing inside of that container. And a margin vertical of 8 so that between the log items, which are basically displayed on top of each other, we have some spacing, some vertical distance between the log items. There also should be a nice background color on every log item, and I'll also get that from my colors constant and use the, let's say, the accent 500 color, so this yellow color. I also want to make sure that these two text items sit next to each other in a row, and therefore the flex direction must be changed to a row, as you learned. Justify content can then be spaced between, so that they are pushed to the edges of this container. So the first item is on the left, the second item is on the right, and the empty space in between is left empty. And I want to add a width of 100% to make sure that the log items take the full width that is made available by the parent component, which is the flat list. Last but not least, we can add a little shadow. And for Android, this can be done with the elevation property, as you learned. And we could set this to a value of 4. And for iOS, we do this by adding a shadow color, which could be black. And then a shadow offset, which is an object with a width and a height, as you learned. And the width can be 0, the height can be 0. And then a shadow opacity of 0.25. And a shadow radius, let's say, of 3. And you can play around with these values to find a shadow that you like visually. Now with that, the styles have to be applied. So on that view, I add styles.listItem. And I also want to make sure that I use the right font for the text in there. And therefore, I'll add my item text styling property where I set the font family to Open Sans. And then this item text styling property here can be added as a style to both these text elements, these text components like this. Now we have the log item. Now we can use it in the game screen. Here, instead of outputting this boring text here, I want to output my guess log item, this newly added component. which therefore, of course, must be imported from that file in which we created it. And then here, we have to configure it. We have to pass in the round number, and we have to pass in the guess that was made. Now, the round number can be retrieved from item data, because on this item data object, besides the item itself, we also get the index of the item in the array. And in the end, this index gives us an idea about the round. The index itself is not the round number, but we know that we just need to take the overall length of the list, so the number of items of the list, minus the index to get the round number. We need to do this kind of calculation because the latest round is added at the beginning. So the latest round will always have an index of 0. So if we take the overall length of the list and we then deduct the index of the individual items, we get the round in which this item was added to the overall list. Now, to get this list item length, we can add a regular constant anywhere in this component function before the JSX code is returned. And here we get the guess rounds list length by simply using guessRounds.length. So this is recalculated every time the component is re-evaluated, which will happen whenever a new round is added. And then we can use this to deduct itemData.index from it. And the guess itself, of course, is itemData.item. So the number value itself. This is how we can deduct the round number and then the value for the round itself, the number that was guessed. If we give this a try, you can see this is how it looks, and this looks quite good. And you see, now in the second round, the guess was 5, which is correct. And this gets added, and we still get that warning if we give a wrong hint, until we actually found the right number. And this is scrollable so that we can even view all the rounds if we exceed the available space we have on the screen. So we can still see that. And eventually, of course, we can then end the game and start a new one if we want to. By the way, we will also update this number soon. So this generally works. But if you paid close attention, you might have seen that, well, let me try again, reproduce this so that we produce a list that's long enough. You might see that actually here, once we exceed this space, yeah, we can scroll to see the bottommost value, but actually it's not really scrolling into view. We have a hard time really seeing that last guess.